Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar. We appreciate your time and your presence. The goal of the webinar today is to help you successfully get started with Planner by Tempo, and we will keep it at the get started level, so we won't be tackling any advanced topics today. Let's start things off by introducing the wonderful team presenting to you here today. So my name is Jua. I'm the Training and Learning Program Manager here at Tempo. My main focus is to make sure that all of our learning initiatives provide value and help you achieve success when using our products. It's a pleasure to have you all with us today, and hopefully it'll be an exciting learning experience for everyone. We have an exceptional group of experts here with us today, and I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves. Edna, we can start with you.
Okay, thanks, Dua. My name's Edna. I'm an instructional content specialist. I focus mostly on our training and learning materials to keep our customers informed and let them understand how the workflows work in our products. And I'm excited to show you some things with Planner today, and hopefully that will help you. So on to you, Mayank.
Thanks, Edna. Hey guys, I'm Mayank Agarwal. I'm based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'm the product manager for Planner by Tempo. I manage both the cloud and data center. So yeah, I'm very excited to kind of be part of this webinar and show you some of the exciting features and a little bit on our roadmap as well. Thank you. Over to you, Susan.
So I'm actually going to introduce Susan. I wanted to mention beforehand that although your microphones are muted, I do encourage you to use the question box, because we've got one of our senior product experts, Susan Wu. She's going to answer your questions throughout the webinar. So again, feel free to utilize that question box. And once again, I hope that this will be an engaging learning experience for everybody, and thank you for joining us. We can also get started with our agenda for today. So let's take a look at what we're covering. So today we're going to tackle what is Planner by Tempo and the basics of successfully setting it up. This will include a look at Tempo Teams. We'll look at how to determine capacity and plan time for your resources. We'll look at the value and insights that you can get from reports, and how to easily visualize team capacity with team planning. That's one of our newest features. And what's coming up for Planner with Tempo's roadmap. We'll also have some time saved for Q&A, so we'll answer some live questions there at the end. One note here is that we're going to focus on our cloud product for today. What is Planner? So Planner is actually a capacity and allocation visualization tool that directly integrates with Jira. It's perfect for project teams with strict deadlines, where resources are allocated based on their availability, their role, and even their skills. You can also use much more than that. Planner often replaces complex planning spreadsheets, and it allows you to get projects started and understand how well your planning is doing. So you can look back at the plans that you've made and see how well you're estimating your time. And this in turn allows you to make projects happen, understand why projects fail, and try to predict the future and make better decisions and estimations. Planner basically enables you to optimize resource capacity in less time and more accuracy. We're also dedicated to delivering industry-leading strategic portfolio management solutions that go beyond single products. So by creating seamless integrations between our products, like timesheets, Planner, Cost Tracker, and Structure by Tempo, we empower you to navigate the complexities of strategic portfolio management. On that note, let's take a closer look at what you, our customers, are using Planner for. So we can actually take that and categorize it into two categories. So for resource planning, for example, you're able to balance workloads and ensure on-time delivery and minimize the overcommitment of resources. For customers and professional services, it's more about estimating the need and opportunities for new projects. In terms of project profitability, because you're able to efficiently allocate your resources, and enough resources at the right time can make or break your project. Lastly, it's to learn and improve your efficiency for future planning. So like I mentioned, you're able to look back at the plans that you've already made and see if your estimations were accurate for your projects. In terms of team planning, which we're really excited to present to you today, has a set of updated features and ways of working. You're able to visualize capacity across multiple teams. You can get buy-in from management for your projects because you're able to increase visibility into the progress that your projects are making. You're able to use Epic data from Jira, no extra effort to get that visualization is needed. And you're also able to get information directly from Jira issues to achieve real-time accurate insights and make decisions on the fly. Lastly, you can see who's on more than one team, and you can figure out if they're over or underutilized in those terms. All in all, Planner by Tempo is a great app for teams managing their work in Jira to get that extra advantage and make projects really happen. And with that, I will let you take over, Edna, so you can show us how to set everything up.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, so today I'm going to show you a few things about how to get set up for Planner, or just check a few things if you already have Planner and you're not sure if it's set up correctly. So I'm only going to focus on a couple of these things, but if you want more information on setup, we have links to the Help Center and also to our YouTube videos that can help you. And I see that a lot of people already have timesheets, so there are going to be a couple of things that if you have timesheets already installed, you will also have set up for Planner, which includes the workload and holiday schemes. I will also take a look at Tempo teams, which are really important for using Planner. It also lets you just help organize your workload, your workforce. And it also, the important thing too for teams and Planner is the team permissions. And I'll show you that in just in a bit. And team members can always plan time for themselves. They don't need special permissions. But oftentimes other managers, resource managers, or team leads do the planning for them. But one thing that they can do to help people plan time for them is to connect their calendars, their Google calendars or Office 365 calendars. And they can also plan their vacation and time off ahead of time so that people know of their availability. So we will take a look at that. And here we are in Tempo. I hope you can all see that. Okay, so here we are in the settings. And just to note that you're not going to see all of these settings unless you have Tempo team administrator permissions. So the first thing that you need to do is to make sure that everybody has access to Planner, and that's done with a global permission. So the easiest way to do that is to actually go to Permission Overview in Tempo, click Global, and then click here. And this will go directly to my Jira global permissions. So here you see a bunch of Tempo permissions. These are set up when Tempo's installed. So you want to make sure that everybody in your team, your group, your company has access to Planner. And here I have my Tempo users group for my company, my fake company. And so that makes sure everybody can plan time now, and also you can have the managers plan time for them. So I'm just going to go back here. Another thing, especially important for planning time, and this you'll only see if you have Planner, is to enable the plan approval. And this is, it's really important that the switch is on if you want to be able to approve people's plans. Usually it's related to things like vacation and time off, but you can approve any type of plan for work as well. So make sure that is on. And then another thing to set up are the working days for the employees. So if you have timesheets, you'll already probably recognize workloads and holiday schemes, but these basically define your typical employee work week. So there's the Tempo default workload scheme, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Sorry, you can edit this if you want, which is great. Or you can create new workload schemes if you want, say a part-time scheme. But the important thing is that you add the correct people to the correct scheme so that later on, we'll see how that affects their capacity. Also affecting their capacity is the holiday schemes. And these basically show you the public holidays for each country, or the moon if you happen to have an office there, as my company does here. You need to, configure them. You go in here and you have to add each fixed days and floating days. And again, what's important are that the correct members are assigned to the correct location. So basically, the workload scheme minus the holiday scheme gives you the team capacity for your team members to work. Capacity for team members to work. So speaking of teams, I'm going to move over to the Tempo teams. So first off, right now, because I'm running a test instance, you're going to see, I see this new team capacity menu, which is really great. And Mayank will go over the team planning stuff a little bit later, but it's a really nice, new, exciting panel that we have going here. But what I want to do is go to my teams list here. And here I see all the teams that I have on my instance. So this could be like in your company. You can create teams for whatever you want, like say per department, like I have for the design team, docs, finance, or you could create special project teams like I do here with my Lunar Consulting Group. It's really easy to create a team. You just click up there, fill in the name, assign a team lead. A program is simply a team of teams. So say you want to group all your dev teams together, you can create a program for that. A summary is just like what you see here. You can give a description if you want. And then the team type, and this has to do with team planning, which Mayank will go over, but basically self-managed means that your team's available for team planning, or administrative means that it's just simply a functional group that you're not going to use for actually planning time for it. So I'm just going to go there and I'll open up my team here. So you'll see all that information here. And once you create a team, you obviously have to add members to them. So I have these members set up here. So you can just click add member to do an individual one at a time. And what's nice you can do is also to add a team role or also skills, which are a fairly recent feature that we've added to Planner. And they are really useful to identify certain resources, like when you're looking to plan ahead, as I will show you a bit later, and just identify certain people with certain resources. And I'll just show you quickly in settings. If you want to add skills, you have to be a Tempo admin for this, but you can go here and these are available to everybody on your Tempo instance. So you can just add another skill if you want. So I'm just going to go back to my team. Another thing that's fairly recent, came out last year, which is great, is generic resources. So I can easily create one here and add it to this team, or got a bunch of them here. So I have an environmental consultant that I want to add to the team. Generic resources, who are basically placeholders. They're not actual Jira users. I can add skills to them. So again, that makes it great for planning ahead. As you see, they're added here. For planning ahead when you don't know who's going to be working on it, but you know that they're going to need this set of skills. Let's move on to what's also important are team permissions. So these team lead and member, these are called permission roles. These ones are per team by default. Team lead gets pretty much everything that by default. So as you see, these are the permissions that are related to Planner. So view, manage, and approve plans, and also to manage team. Work logs, because I have timesheets installed, the team lead has all these special powers too. So most team members don't have any powers above and beyond seeing their own work, but if you want, you can have them view plans so they can see their team members' plans, their colleagues. So here you have what are called full access permission roles. So they're ghosted here because they affect this team, but you'd have to go into each team to set up permission roles for access. So instead, you can go into settings and have permission role here. So these are all the what we call full access permission roles. They give you instantly access to all the teams across your instance, or multiple teams if that's how you want to have it set up. So here I have my resource manager permission role. I can do everything I need with plans. And because it's full access, it applies to all the teams on my instance, which is great. And as a resource manager, you probably need that. Or if, say, you only want to have a couple of teams, you can select them here, which ones you want. So you're restricted to access to only them. But I want full access, so I will say yes to that. As you can imagine, you wouldn't give that to everybody, but certainly is useful when you're at a higher level. So with everything set up, you're pretty much ready to start doing some planning. And as I said before, the team members can always plan time for themselves. There's no restrictions on that. But there's a few things that they can do to help out people who are planning time for them. And that's to connect their calendars. As first thing. So I already have my Google Calendar connected here. It's super easy to do. You can do it from the apps menu here, or if you have timesheets, you may already recognize it's from my work. You can go do it there too. So very simple to set up. I won't go through it because that'll disconnect my calendar, which I need to keep connected. So if you go into Planner, this is the main planning view that especially a resource manager is going to be using. If you want to, so these are all the resources that I have on my instance. And as you see, there's some of 2 names, and no, we haven't perfected cloning yet. This is just some of our test users, so don't worry about that. So I will go into show calendar events. And now everybody, all the users who have their calendars connected, I'll see their time set up here. So as you can imagine, it's really useful to be able to see, like, okay, Amy here, I'm going to just expand that. Amy here already has like an hour and a half every day for meetings. So I can't book 8 hours a day for her. So it's really great to know that. And if I click on here, I can even see what she's spending her time on if she chooses to share that. Say for Catherine down here, she just has it set as busy because maybe she's doing top secret work, or she just doesn't, maybe want people to see what she's doing. It's up to you. So that is fine. That's really great to see, to know how much time people have. And another thing is vacation time. So an easy way to create a plan, I'll show you how to create a vacation really quickly here. So Beverly here wants to take 3 full weeks off, which is pretty long. So I will just open that up, and issues. We usually have special issues for things like time off and vacations or meetings, company meetings, sick time. So I will select that one there. I've already selected the period, which is the 3 weeks. She's usually 8 hours a day. And because I have the plan approval checked, I can set a reviewer for that. So I'll put Catherine Evans, and it'll be pending until Catherine Evans says, yes, this is fine. So just click plan time. And now it shows up. Sorry, she's booked here and it's pending. So that's, again, a really great way to plan ahead so that people know when you're available or when you're not. Now, with the resources and team leads can see ahead of time to see who's available, we can look at future project planning. So whether your organization is bidding for customer projects a few months into the future, or maybe your company wants to just plan ahead its delivery schedule, there can be a lot of unknowns. So will you have enough resources? Who's available? And do they have the right skills? Knowledge is power, and this is where Planner can really help you. So I'm going to show you how to plan ahead, especially using stuff like generic resources and finding people with the right skills, and also planning on Jira projects when you don't have everything all fleshed out yet. And then as your project gets closer to the deadline, you can update those plans on the projects to actual issues and actual users. So I'm going to go back to Tempo here. So my scenario here is that my company has an opportunity to do a contract for some environmental work on the moon. And here's how I could start planning out for it. So I already know it's going to be from September to December. So I can go up to my date picker here and choose September 1st and go to end of December and apply. And now I see that only that time frame here, which is nice. And next thing I really need to do is to filter out by skills in my case. You can also filter by teams or specific users, team roles, generic resources, or skills. So I've already saved a filter here, which is a really handy thing to do. So I see all of the environmental skills that I need for this project. So just do that. And as you see, it's a much shorter list now, which makes it really great to be able to plan out. I think I can show skills. Yes, okay. So also when you show skills, you can see which resource has exactly which skill that you need. So, and remember the workload and holiday schemes I showed you earlier. The results of that is sort of here. So for example, for Catherine Evans, you see 0 out of 8 hours means that she has 8 hours available for work, but nothing's planned for her yet. Except here, she has some lunar travel planned out. So it's good that she's already pegged that. The holiday scheme is here. Anything in pink means that those are holidays. So we don't expect any work to be planned. And these kind of purpley gray areas are usually like weekends. So we also 0 out of 0 because we don't expect any time to be worked there, or you shouldn't be working there. So now that we have kind of like, we see who's available, who's got the skills we need. But if there weren't anybody here, it can signal that, hey, we need to hire somebody. So you can create the generic resource as I have here. And this is the one you'll recognize from the team, the Tempo team. So it's really great for placeholders, as you can imagine. Before this feature came out last year, many customers were setting up like fake Jira users to use as placeholders and then planning out with that. But that literally had a cost, since all Jira users are, they have a cost attached to them. So this was a great solution that we could introduce to help solve staffing and planning problems. So I'm going to create a, peg out some time for our environmental consultant here. Sorry, I'm dragging here. So let's say here, this is kind of an easy way to create plans. So here I see generic resource instead of user. I have my list of generic resources here. This is the one I want. And because it's still at early stages, I've created a Jira project, but I haven't created a lot of issues yet. So I can go ahead and select that project. And this is something I think particular to Planner, that you can actually create plans at a project level. So which is really good for high level planning. Time periods there. I'm going to put 8 hours since I need to plan out their full time. And you see the plan down here. Sorry, down here. So I will also plan out for a human resource here. And again, I can say project. I know that he's doing some pre-sales. Oops, sorry, pre-sales work. There's another Jira project I have. And again, I don't know exactly how much time he's going to have. So I'm going to plan out 8 hours a day. With that all set up, people can see who you have, I need that. So you can tell people that I need this resource to be working at this time and on this project. So if other people are looking to plan with that resource, they might, they'll see that this person's already sort of asked for. So as a project gets a bit closer, you'll probably have your Jira issues set up more, your stories, your epics. So what I can do is simply switch out that plan to an issue. And I know that he's creating solutions for demos, and I can leave everything the same, everything else, and then just update that. And now it's on an actual issue. And for the generic resource, I can simply drag this to say, I know Vivian's going to be available now. I can drag it to her timeline. So now it's on her. And again, I can change it to the issue level. Say she'll be busy calculating energy consumption. Oh, and one other thing too, you can also change the generic from the generic resource to the user in this plan time form as well. So I'll update that. And now she's all planned out on this actual issue. Just a few things. Another way of planning is to literally use your issue side panel and say drag and drop. Let's say John over here, I can plop it on there and then drag it out to whatever I need it to be. And you'll see that it says the 8 hours there in red. It means that, we don't need to work those hours. If you don't like seeing that, you can press the Command or Control key and split the plan and say, I don't want to look at that. I can easily just make those go away so they're all nice and neatly displayed. Another thing about the issue side panel is that you can configure it to what you want. So here I've got like my Jira projects that I'm using all the time. I can add another one here if I want. And then that'll show up on my issue side panel. And also if I have a JQL filter set up for something, I can add it here too. And that's really useful for quick planning. Also, while you're planning out your Jira project and creating issues and stuff like that, you can actually go into the Jira issue itself, for example, and I can create plans from there too. So I just go open up the tempo panel and click plan time. And then I can actually just plan time to whoever I want. And of course, I need to have permissions to plan time for others. And then I can just do that as usual. So I'll go back. And one more thing to show quickly. And we'll be getting into the reports later, but just from the resource planning view itself, you can click the View in Report, and that instantly creates a report with all the people who you have your time. There's plans already made on their time. You can group it differently. You can change the filter, but it takes your existing filter and it takes your existing time periods. And then you can see things like what percentage of time the capacity has been planned already. So you can see all of this. And then if you save it, you can share it later with your team members. So that is basically how you can plan ahead at a high level using generic resources and creating project level plans. So that will really help you get going on something even before it starts. And now I will hand it back to Dua, who's going to cover how to get all the data that you need for these different types of reports.
So thank you, Edna, for that great overview. The resource planning view really does give you a compelling visual of what's going on, but reports will enable you to take a closer look at the numbers. So we're going to go over a few different reports today, but we're going to start with, for example, the capacity report and the plan time report. So with the capacity report, you can export a capacity report, which includes the raw data from your resource planning screen that we just looked at with Edna, to be used for further planning or even in another system. Capacity is a huge word, but it actually describes nicely what Planner can provide, making sure you're not overcommitted and knowing when you need to hire. These are all important resource management questions that the capacity report can help you answer. The report itself lets you see the planned hours and the time available for your team. And when viewing capacity for the team, the time available is calculated based on, again, what Edna just showed us with the setup, members' workload and their holiday schemes. We'll also look at the plan time report, which allows you to review your plans and look for patterns and spot bottlenecks. In the demo, I'll show you how you're able to drill down into projects and group by epic, role, team, and even more. And we are also going to look at another example of why our products really work well together. So one of the big questions that Planner can help you answer is how can you improve your efficiency? You can find answers using the planned versus actual report. So you can see how Planner and timesheets by Tempo work hand in hand to give you the big picture of how you had planned some time and then how it actually went. The data you're able to extract using these reports can then be used in your retros in order to have a clearer picture of your projects and start productive conversations around them. The visual aspect of Planner means that you can adjust plans directly from the resource planning view and even pull filters in that allow you to quickly react in that centralized screen and have that visibility. You can also, which is amazing, share a report with your colleagues in Tempo. Sharing will still preserve the permissions of plans and work logs that each user is able to see, but it's a great way that you can easily reuse a reporting format to communicate around plans with your team or management so that you can increase your visibility and efficiency. On that note, let's go straight into our demo. You'll notice that I'm looking at the screen that Edna was looking at right now, but I have my own little project here. So I'm looking at the resource planning page or view, and I'm in a team called Greenergy. So we're working on this project. I'm going to navigate to the right-hand side in order to access that export capacity report icon. And once I click on it, you'll see that I'm able to even restrict more when it comes to date, what I want to look at, what I want to export. So I'm going to expand that date a little bit, go into August maybe. And then I can also decide what kind of breakdown of capacity I want to look at. Am I looking at weekly capacity, monthly, quarterly, or do I just want to see a full summary for that date period? I want to look at a summary, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to include generic resources because I also want to see how much I'm utilizing them. And I can click export right away. And that will download a CSV file right into my device. I've already prepared something for us to look at. After you download it, you can then use something like spreadsheets to view this. So you'll see right here a capacity report that I previously created for us. In this capacity report, in the title, you'll notice it's telling me what dates are included or what the time span I'm looking at here. It's for September 2023. Looking into the data, you'll see that I've got my resources, so the users or the names of my resources, and including, like I said, any generic resources that I've planned for. You're able to see the teams that they're working with. So if they work with multiple teams, this is where you can also see it. You're looking at their role that you've set up for them. You're also looking at the skills. So this is great when you're setting up skills in teams. This is where they really matter because then you can assign work based on skills. You can also look at their capacity in terms of hours or in terms of the full-time equivalents. So if you have a majority of full-time employees, you'll probably expect to see a lot of ones here and then fractions for anybody who's part-time. I have the planned time, so I've got any time that I've already planned for that resource, and then I also have any kind of availability. You'll notice that I did process this spreadsheet a little bit, so I did add a filter here, for example, that allows me to see who's got the most availability and probably utilize that resource first. So there's a lot that you can do once you're looking at it in a different format that allows you to look closer at the numbers. So with that, let's go and create our plan time report. And we're going to go back to my resource planning view. And on the left-hand menu, I'm right now in planning. We're in Planner. I'm going to move to reports. And this is where you can create your own plan time report. So I'm going to go ahead and create one really quickly. I'm not going to worry about the filters or grouping right now because I'm going to go in there and change them. So I'm going to filter by an issue. What I'm trying to accomplish by looking at this plan time report, I'm a team lead and I want to see how my team is actually taking time off. I want to make sure that I'm aware of any time off that's coming up, but I also want to make sure that they're maintaining that work-life balance. So I'm going to go into issues and I'm going to look for, it's probably going to be an internal issue for you as well, for my vacation issue. All right, and then for June, for the month of June, these are all of the resources that have time off planned. So I can look at this. I can definitely consider it when I'm looking at planning for them. That will show up as well. But this gives me an idea of who's taking time off on the team, who's not, who do I need to nudge a little bit to take some time off, and then I can look at it in terms of periods as well. You'll notice that I added a few columns here, so I have the ability to add more columns if I want to look at more insights here. So I can look at the planned time, the planned capacity, any required time that I'm looking at, and it gives me a little bit more info here too. The great thing that you can do is I can save this report. So you may have noticed when I first opened up my report page, I had a couple of reports saved. If I go ahead and save this report, I'm just going to say planned, and we're going to give it the date. I think it was June. Okay, there we go, and save report. And as soon as I save my report, this is when my share button shows up, and I can actually share it with any of my team members or other team leads that have a Tempo account. And that will help me, for example, share all that info with them. I can also export it, obviously, and share it that way as well. The next thing I want to show you is my plan versus actual. So I'm going to go back to my reports. So I planned for this month, for May, let's say, and I had great plans. I really spent a lot of time in figuring out the estimations, but I don't know if that plan was actually accurate. So let's go ahead and open up one of my saved reports here. So I'm looking at Green Energy Project, and I'm looking at May. You'll notice the period already changed to June. That's because we're in June right now, so I can move it back to May because, again, I'm looking at actual time. The actual time is coming from timesheets by Tempo, and that means that all of these resources have to have actually logged their time in order for me to see this data. So looking at the report, obviously it's very visual, so it gives you lots of great insights right away, but I've got my actual time, my planned time. So I only planned 71 hours for this project. We ended up spending 134 hours on it, so obviously my estimation was off. The time variance, the user variance, so depending on who you actually plan the time for. If I scroll a little bit lower, I'll be able to see how it's broken down, who spent the most time on the project, and we're tracking this using the time log to issues for this project. Just looking at it, you'll see that, for example, I had planned 30 hours for Catherine, and the actual time was 46 hours, so obviously I needed to estimate that a little bit better. Okay, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mayank because I know you're all looking forward to getting a little bit more familiar with team planning.
Sure, thank you, Dua. So with that, I want to actually show you our team planning views, which is our latest offering. I think we released this to all the users, planner users on cloud in January earlier this year, and we're continuing to build upon this. So from resource planning, you can use this drop-down arrow and switch to team planning view. And for the very first time, you will get an empty state, but all you have to do is make sure you have all the required fields set up and populate those. But I will give you all that information as well. So I'm going to quickly go and add the teams. So for this demo, I'm going to add 2 teams, GR teams and product team, for example. And once I populate this view, you will see we have 3 different tabs here: weeks, months, and quarters. So this view is designed for teams who plan in advance, and I think somebody asked for sprint planning as well. So it can be this view can be leveraged for that as well. So at a very high level, these are the epics that are visualized as team plans. So I've created some placeholder epics for now just to fast track this demo. So let's say I've created 4 epics for green energy team, and one is redesigning customer portal, one is app development, app testing, and app launch. Some information there. And you can also navigate between months view and quarter view, and weeks view has a little bit more additional information where you can expand your teams, and you can also visualize each of these team members and their associated plans for that period. On the very top row, you will see plans that are assigned to that team as a whole in the Jira epic, but then individually you can also see plans, and you can actually plan here as well. So let's say if I go to the Q3, Q4 timeline where I have created those tasks for a little bit more ahead. So for let's say I create a plan for myself here, just for 4 days. If I assign some more work, app launch, 8 hours per day, never repeats, all of that. And then here I'm creating this plan for this particular team because I'm using this plan time action inside that team. So if I select this plan scope to green energy, it will create that plan only for that particular team. It will be visible. And when I expand my product team, you will see me here as well. And we have some shared resource indicators as well. So you can see most of the resources are shared across these teams. So you can see that plan was created for a particular team. It does not show up in other teams. So it kind of creates decent boundaries where one person's plan for a particular team does not impact other teams' planning if the resource is shared. But I can also edit this and decide that, okay, it's a generic plan. Think of it as like a vacation or a training where irrespective of what team resource is available working for, the plan is across all the teams. So when I remove this, it shows up as a resources plan for that team as well as the other team, right? So that's something which also is nicely presented in the weeks tab of this new team planning view. And you can see shared resources as well. So one more thing that is interesting here is these shared resources are coming from teams that are marked as self-managed teams. So let me take an example. For example, Eric is shared between 4 teams. So one is product, active users, operations, and there is one more green energy. So let me make this operational team in settings as an administrative team. And then if you see, we have this option somewhere here, team classification, and we just released this feature yesterday. So it should be available to all of you. So operation is currently marked as self-managed. So that is why you see that as a shared resource for that team as well. But when I make it administrative, and this is based on the permission, so you have to have permissions to edit this. But now since the operational team is administrative, if I go back to my planning view, team planning, switching to weeks view, and going to see Eric, he is not displayed as shared resource for that team, and it just keeps your information pretty nicely displayed here. So that's the view where you can see a lot of information for that user and their team plans and the specific plans. But I wanted to also share why our vision is to kind of support product teams where planning happens in advance, and then you your teams start working on that based on those plans. So coming back to this quarter view, I like this view more because it's just like a longer timeline. So here you can edit these epics. So for now, let me take an example of GRN 54. That is an epic that I've created for this task, redesigning customer portal. So for these epics to populate in this view, you need to have your start date, due date, and tempo team populated in the Jira issue view. And then there's another original estimate that will be used for effort estimation that I also recommend to add it. One little hack is I pin these fields so that you don't have to kind of find it in like a huge list of all the fields that are here. So I just pin it out to the top. Now you can see that I can also change either from here or directly from here. I can assign this to a different team. So for example, if I feel that this is too much work for this team, I can just click on this edit button here, and I can change this team directly from, let's say, green energy to product, just because I think there's too much work on that team, and then it will show you here. Now you can see these 3 FTEs, and I was happy to see the result of the poll that most of you are planning your team's work in the hours and time units. So for example, let's say if you create a new epic, maybe let me just create a new epic quickly. I know we are also running short on time, but let's say test epic just for demo now. And then I create this epic under the GRN project quickly. I open this issue, and you can see all these things are not populated, and that is why it's not showing up. But let me put some dates here. Let's say 30th of June. Due date would be end of July, sometime there. And team, I'm going to assign this to green energy team, right? So this will now automatically populate here. I just have to refresh this page, and you will see this test demo has populated here. Now, I just selected some random dates, but I'm going to move it to, let's say, Q1 next year. It'll automatically move there. Now, it doesn't have any estimate. And I think Edna did cover something that we are also building right now. Currently, it's our team effort capacity dashboards. So currently, it's not available to any customers, but we are going to release it to our Tempo Lab internal, like early adopters, for adopters. But here, this is the new capacity tab. Once you add this team, let's say green energy, you can get a snapshot of that team, and you can have, if you're managing multiple teams, you can add multiple teams so that you can quickly get an overview of all their work assigned and the work overview in terms of their planned capacity, what is in progress and completed, and you can drill down to each of these, right? So when I drill into this and I go to, let's say, Q4 timeline, I can see, so let me go to Q3 here. So this data is going to match with your team planning view, which is somewhere here. So team planning, I just have to add these teams again. Clean energy. And you can see in Q4 of 23, I have 3 plus 3 plus 3, 9 FTE. And if I go to the same view in this Q4 23, I will see my team's capacity is 6. And then the work that is planned for them is 3.97. This work is coming from, the effort is right now 3, 3, 3, and 9, as I shared earlier. But then this data is kind of coming, also calculating the quarterly effort, right? And that quarterly effort is shown up here as the total. So if some work is kind of across multiple quarters, it will be shown like that. So right now, this is currently in internal development, so we are not ready to launch it yet. But team planning is available to all the users. You also have filters to use or change some of the data here. You can look at all the in-progress epics. So some things that are only in progress, so you can focus on that, or you can filter by epics that are to do only, right? So that you can plan better. And then this 3 FTE is coming from original estimate. So I had this epic that I created for test. And since I don't have any estimate here, let's say if you check with your team lead or somebody, you can get a high level estimate and they tell you, oh, it's going to take 4 weeks to do this based on the scope, right? And then you select this and you go back to your team planning view. Sorry, I have a bunch of tabs open here. Test demo. And if I refresh this, this should automatically convert that unit to the FTE that we just added. So you can see the original estimate is 160, and then in team planning view, it corresponds to 1 FTE. So, and it is rounded off to 1 FTE, but it is 160 hours. This calculation is coming from start date, due date, and the default workload scheme, which will tell the system that how much capacity this particular team has. So that's team planning, and you can edit these numbers as well. So this is like really a new feature. Historically, we have been focusing a lot on resource planning, which is also a great view for teams that work in that model. But for teams that are mostly following Scrum methodology, or they do sprint planning in advance and they want to plan their resources accordingly. So that's where this is coming handy. So I don't have much time, so feel free to reach out to us. And I'm going to switch to the other slides that we have here, just to give you some more resources and how to reach out to us. But before I do that, I wanted to share a little bit more on insights into what is coming. So I just shared the team capacity, which will look something like this when it is released to the users. So you will have a quick overview of all the teams, their capacity, and change in their team capacity work allocation. Then you can drill down to each of these teams and look at their capacity and a list of prioritized tasks that are assigned to this particular team. So this should be very useful for your planning exercises. And then we are also introducing a capacity indicator, which will tell you, based on the demo I shared, based on the effort that is assigned to that team, it will tell you whether this team is overbooked or underutilized or has nothing allocated yet. And then you can adjust the capacity by moving around these body of works, right? So that you can always set your teams for success. And so this is also coming very soon. So I'm very excited about this. And after that, I think in the interest of time, just wanted to share some additional resources, but maybe Dua, you can cover this particular slide.
Sure. So we've got a couple of resources here linked for you, and this is going to be part of your post-webinar email. So look out for that. You'll also see that we have that Getting Started with Timesheets by Tempo webinar that we mentioned. It's coming June 20th. And to answer all your questions, because I know you ran out of time today, but we had awesome things to show you, we will have an AMA session coming soon. There's also the Tempo event page linked here, so you can keep an eye out for any events that we have coming up. Again, we've got a lot planned for you this fall. And to connect with us a little bit more, you can connect through Tempo Lab. So we've also attached how you can get access to that. If we move on to the next slide, I know we had some time here that we wanted to answer questions, but with 2 minutes to go, unfortunately, I don't think we can answer a lot. I did see one question that, can you show how it looks like with multiple overlapping projects assigned to the same person at the same period? So some of the team planning that Mayank showed you can show you also how you can see tasks for multiple projects, and then also the capacity report that I shared showed you what kind of projects an individual or a resource is working on. So hopefully that answers your question. Again, we have lots of questions coming in, but Susan is trying to answer them as well. Thank you everyone for attending, and have a great rest of your day.